Barbie had a huge movement last year, and the internet is not done talking about it, myself included. And I know that the movie on its own wasn't revolutionary, nor is the motto for Barbie's brand of becoming who you want to be isn't without its own faults, holes, and problems. But when a super fun concept, and one that's aesthetically pleasing at that, becomes super popular, and at the same time you're in the mental state to join the ride, why not hop on and see where it takes you? For me, the past couple of years has kind of been a period of dissociation where I'm not really sure how to view myself anymore or how to define where I want to go, which is a really big contrast from who I was back in my teenage years and early 20s, where I had a really strong conviction in my personality, who I was, the goals and dreams that I had set for myself, and really had confidence in being able to actually achieve where I had set out to go to. One of the projects that I had started during this period in time was Elixir, a little Japanese fashion shop that I had started. And during the first year of me working on Elixir, it actually grew really quickly. Coming into the second year of it, I had wanted to grow it a lot faster than I was capable of handling, not that I knew that at the time. And trying to push it faster than I was capable of and faster than it was capable of led me to making bad decisions in succession, which ended up hurting the people around me, the people I was working with at the time, and ultimately led to my decision to go on hiatus from my shop for a while. As the years went by, I started other projects and experienced failure after failure, which led to a point where experiencing any type of setback, whether it was caused by my own decisions or an external factor, would lead me to a state of disillusionment, dissociation, lack of motivation, whatever you want to call it. My shower thoughts were just filled with feelings of inadequacy. I would go about my day with the perspective gnawing at the back of my mind that the past decade of my life has just been not accomplishing anything. The hobbies and interests that used to inspire me caused me emotional stress to participate in or to even attempt. And so when tackling Elixir again, I did try to rebrand for a little while and kind of dabble in some other art styles, something I was still interested in, but I wanted to go in a different direction to help with that mental state. And honestly, that art style is fun, and I am still interested in pursuing it, but I did hit a lot of roadblocks with this different art style, and I went into another hiatus. This back and forth of not knowing what to do with my art, where I wanted to go, and what even excited me anymore kind of just amplified those feelings of my youthful years rotting away. And this stark contrast to who I thought I was when I first came into adulthood. And I didn't want to continue in this downward spiral of self-hate, self-loathing, just being in my own head about things. And so I needed a change. Now, you might be asking, I thought that this was a craft studio transformation video. Why the heck are you talking about your sob story? So let's answer that, shall we? If you don't already know me, my name is Meridian. Hi, nice to meet you. One of my core beliefs is that art is a medium for self-discovery, a medium that is heavily interwoven with identity, personal development, mental health, and on this channel, I want to share my art projects and tie in a conversation around self-expression, connection, and similar themes. The artistic mediums that most interest me and that I want to share include alternative fashion, whether it's the kawaii pastel side or the dark alternative side. I really like both and I cannot choose between the two.
Welcome to another installment of Katya Cannot Pick an Aesthetic.
I also like cosplay, makeup, thrifting and DIYs. Some videos I post might just be the art, some of them might be the chatty mental health stuff, and then there are some videos where I'll try to tie in both. So if this blend of content interests you at all, maybe consider subscribing to my channel, help your girl out, feed me some vanity metrics to make me feel like I accomplished something for once in my life. Okay, sorry, no more stupid jokes. Let's actually get into building my craft studio. So going back to the Barbiecore hype from last year, for my craft studio, I wanted to go pink. This is actually a really important decision because for the life of me, I cannot choose an aesthetic and commit to it. And going into the Barbie core inspiration for my craft studio, I didn't want to go into the plastic dollhouse mod aesthetic. I really do think that it's cute, but I think that the pieces that would make up the whole was really unique in a way that would be hard for me to make or source in a timely manner and also expensive. Building my dream craft room was something I didn't want to spend years and years on. I didn't want to spend so much time on it. Specifically because I like crafting in the craft room, but I don't particularly like building the craft room. It's not my core passion. And I know that once I get into crafting things and using the space, actually decorating the space and making it aesthetic and inspiring was not going to happen. It was going to be pushed to the back burner if I didn't commit to it. The other driving factor that I had regarding the timeline was at the turn of last year, I actually was moving. And so going into an empty space where I could start over and actually create something cool from scratch, I wanted to capitalize on that opportunity since the room would be empty and it would be a lot easier to move things in, already starting with the correct aesthetic and putting things in the right place. The Y2K era trend and the nostalgic factor have been really relevant in recent years, and it's also coinciding with my headspace, where I'm really trying to tap back into what inspired me when I was younger, and I was brimming with confidence and optimism for the future. Some of the things that come to mind when I was a kid, for example, was when Legally Blonde threw me for a loop, seeing Elle Woods live an entirely pink aesthetic lifestyle. I think it was probably one of the first moments as a kid where I thought to myself, wow, I want to grow up and be like that. Also, another memory from childhood. I swear that there was this episode of Mandy on the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy where she got sick of Billy and Grim and got rid of them. After she got rid of them, she redecorated her whole room in this frilly pink aesthetic. And now that I'm older and kind of retrospecting on her personality and how she was written, I can't really imagine her doing that. But that scene is so vivid in my memory for some reason. But I scoured for 2 days looking through the Billy and Mandy wikis, the internet episode guides and summaries, trying to find a clip for this portion of the video. And for the life of me, I just could not find it. So I feel like there's some kind of fever dream happening where this probably didn't exist. But if you know what episode I'm talking about, or if you remember this, can you please tell me? Like, I'm gonna go crazy if no one ever remembers this. But the reason why it sticks with me is because I feel like after I had watched that episode, it was one of those things that I heavily vibed with at the time. I shared a room with my younger brother, and Mandy just girl boss picking out Billy and Grim, and I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna kick my brother out of our bedroom. And I threw everything that wasn't pink into the closet and tried to take out everything that was pink that I had, blankets, books, dolls, and whatever, and just kind of decorated the room in pink, as pink as I could get it with, the belongings that I had. And just kind of like taking that energy with me of just like, pink, I want pink things, and I want a pink life. Miss Queen Elle Woods and Miss Queen Mandy tell me that these girls are both pink, but have completely opposite vibes. I love them both, and considering that these are the core memories that came up while I was doing this thought exercise of what I wanted to put as inspiration that goes into this craft room, I decided that pink was important to me growing up, where I'm associating pink with inspiration. The ultimate goal of actually building this craft room was to create a space that could aesthetically inspire me and motivate me, since motivation and dissociative thoughts have been a struggle for me lately. And while I did want the room to be an extension of myself, I did also want to put idealized elements into it. For example, I don't consider myself very elegant or princess-like, but I find myself really drawn to the coquette, the glam aesthetics, because it makes me feel that way when I binge those content. And living vicariously through the content creators that make content in these aesthetics make me feel magical and luxurious. And so, other than pink, I decided I also wanted to incorporate some whites and some golds to evoke that feeling in my workflow. Also, I apologize in advance, side note, that if you saw the title of this video and thought that this video was going to be like a Barbie core, one that kind of fits in this stereotypical box of what you think of Barbie core aesthetically in remodeling this room, hate to break it to you, that's not actually what this video is going to be about. It's not clickbait, I promise. Yes, the room is pink at its core, but it's not like Barbie core, like like visually stereotyped, because I really wanted to incorporate a lot more inspiration from different aesthetics that I was interested in. And so the Barbie core is more like the energy rather than just the aesthetic. That motto that I talked about at the beginning, where Barbie promotes this idea that you can become who you want to be. And when I was thinking about building this room out, I wanted that energy. I wanted to be in a space where I could be inspired in my artwork, where I can be inspired in the things and projects that I was working on, and have that positive energy motivate me to move forward. And I know that sometimes who I am and who I want to be becomes hazy when life happens and things change and priorities change. But rather than dissociating when things veer off a path that I had set in front of me, I want to be able to come back. I want to be able to be pliant with the changes that happen in life and just continue to be inspired while I work on things that make me happy. I know I said that I didn't want this whole process of building the craft studio, because I was moving, to take a long time, but the process did take me a full 4 months. But I did finish, so give me that. Due to the time that it actually took to build out this whole craft studio, I am kind of turn this transformation into a series. I'm thinking it's probably going to be separated into 8 parts for each section and category of the room that I worked on, because that's just what makes sense in my head. So if you end up liking this first video, I hope you'll be back for the rest of the videos of this craft room transformation series and to see the whole journey from start to finish. In addition to being aesthetically inspiring, I also really wanted the craft room to be very functional. I was moving out of my family home, which was a 5-bedroom house, and moving all of this craft studio into the size of a 2-car garage. So I definitely needed to prioritize what I was taking with me and what I planned to use each part of the space for. In this first video of the series, I'm going to be focusing on my main craft desk, which is sitting right here behind me. I wanted to focus on making this desk fully functional to be the core work area of the studio. Essential things that I wanted to put on this desk includes my serger, my sewing machine, my laptop, my Cricut machine, and my printer all on one desk. It was really important to me that each machine had a place on the table so that I wouldn't have to put them away. I wanted them to be able to eternally live on top of the table in the spot they were meant to be in. Setting up equipment and machines is a really big demotivator for when I'm trying to actually start a project and I have to set everything up. By the time everything's set up, I don't want to work on things anymore because I spent so much energy just trying to set the machine out. I have no idea if y'all know what I'm talking about when it comes to actually starting projects and needing to do the setup in order to actually get to working on it. It is a huge friction factor for me when actually wanting to get into things. This giant desk that can hold all of the equipment I wanted is actually comprised of 2 desks put together. They are the same IKEA model, so they were compatible to connect in different ways. It's discontinued now, but it's still a really good desk. And in this video, I'm going to be going over all the modifications that I made to this desk to make it fully functional and aesthetic for my dream craft studio. As a little sneak peek for what I have planned for this craft studio transformation, I plan to share how I built out my custom closet, how I put together my makeup vanity and decorative floating shelf area, how I made over my auxiliary crafting tables, because my giant table is totally not enough, how I set up my craft supply and storage organization, and probably one of my favorite parts of my craft studio is the ceiling rods that I installed for my curtains to serve to partition the studio into different sections, but also be able to use them as backdrops for fashion videos and whatnot. And then also throwing in the window curtains and the lighting that I did at the same time, since those are kind of ceiling adjacent. Next section, I'll also talk a little bit about my boyfriend's section and what we did for his desk and area. And for the last video in this series, I plan to have a big reveal craft room studio tour for the finale. For the wall paint, I just went to my local Home Depot, surprise, surprise. I also got the baseboards from here. And for the flooring, I got it from a store called KBF Home, which my family owns. For one wall, I wanted to paint it black. That side is going to be for my boyfriend's section of the studio. And I chose the Onyx Glidden paint because I didn't want something that was like true black because it would be too dark. And for the baseboard, I did pick it in a hurry just because I was moving at the time. There was a couple that I was interested in, but price-wise, I wasn't trying to spend too much since I know I was going to spend a lot on building out the whole studio. Instead of the MDF baseboard, the PVC ones are actually less expensive. And there was this cute beaded one that I really liked. For the flooring, I chose a light wood color because I wanted something light and warm and something that wouldn't distract from my outfit videos that I wanted to film for future YouTube uploads. After picking out all the materials, I scheduled someone to paint the room and install the flooring and baseboards. I actually would have wanted to do this myself and save some money, but I was packing and preparing to move, so I felt like it would be more time effective to actually have the prep work done, so I can just move in the room and start building from there. While waiting for the studio to be ready for moving stuff in, I started with painting my giant table while I was still back at my old house. I am using off-white Glidden paint for the tabletop and Rust-Oleum Metallic Gold and Krylon Glitter Blast Gold spray paint for the table legs. Just wanted to mention the difference between these two glitters. I ended up using this glitter for the glitter finish on my gold legs for the table. Both of these I had in my garage. It's just that I had both of these and one of these. So I was thinking, okay, let me do it with this because I have more and I wouldn't have to go to the store if I ran out. So what ended up happening is that when I did try to use this one, basically this nozzle tip wouldn't spray anymore, nothing was coming out. So I do remember last project I had used with this, there was some issues with it. And eventually there was a point where the nozzle would get clogged and I wasn't able to get any more liquid out. This one is that example where there's maybe half the bottle left and there's I couldn't get any of the spray to come out, and that was really unfortunate because now there's paint in here and I can't use it, I have to throw it away. But this one, even though it's been in the garage for a while, this is a nicer nozzle, I guess. So I was able to empty this one for the project, but I was running out near the end of painting all the legs and I had to go and grab more. So I did grab more of those. But just a note that if you're trying to get a paint that would maybe last a little longer, either in your garage or just not have it clog in you in the middle of the project, because I do remember that happening last time I used these, go for the Krylon Glitter Blast because of this nozzle. The move was actually pretty sudden for me and delayed certain projects I really wanted to tackle at the time, so I was looking forward to having a fresh space to work in. Painting these tables was the first physical step towards my dream craft studio, and I got really excited seeing this table go through a much-needed facelift. Sorry that I don't have any b-roll of moving, I just literally had so much stuff. I was a bit stressed out by the suddenness of the move that I just wanted to focus on actually moving and I didn't film any of it. So skipping straight, here is my empty studio with the paint done and the flooring in. And here's a close-up of the baseboard installation. I was a little upset with this. The caulk filling in the stapled areas was not sanded smoothly or painted over to make the finish more professional. For the price I paid for the install, it was fine. I accepted it and didn't really want to get the contractor to come back and fix it. Sorting through what I wanted to pack and what I wanted to donate from my years of craft supply hoarding made my move super stressful. I know it's self-induced. But yeah, I didn't want to spend time to fix this detail, and I didn't want to go into negotiating with the contractor about pricing or whatever to get this fixed. I mean, majority of the baseboards are going to be covered when the furniture gets moved in anyway, so I figured just let it go. I really just want to unpack and move in already. So moving into the office, the first thing was assembling the newly painted desk together. I set the tabletop on top of some bar stools I had brought with me. I put a level on top so I can make sure that the tabletop was level when I was screwing the legs and the wheels in. I got these cute little gold wheels at Home Depot. I'm so glad that they're gold. I've never had wheels on this desk, and this desk is super heavy, so it really needed to be on wheels. Again, functionality and aesthetic are both super important when I was building out this craft room. And here is the table fully assembled with its wheels. Two of the wheels aren't gold, they're just some wheels that I had, but I will replace them later with gold wheels when I visit another Home Depot that had more of these gold wheels. I did add some of those sticky felt pads to the backside of the table against the wall, just to protect the paint and also the wall and the table itself. And I'm also adding some mending plates to the bottom of the seams of the tabletop where the pieces are joined together. The mending plates serve to level the tabletop so it's not uneven at the joint areas. Unfortunately, these screws that did come with the mending plates are too long, and I was afraid they would end up showing on the top side of the table after drilling it in. So I did have to find some shorter screws to install the plates. Back at my old house, when I was using this desk as a craft desk, one of the things I really didn't like was how deep the table was. From front to back, it's actually 32 inches, so when I stored things at the back of the table and I would lean over to reach and grab things, it would hurt my back. And since the supplies would be behind my equipment, for example, the sewing machine and the serger machine, it was just inconvenient where the storage would be placed and it just sucked. So to remedy that, I wanted to build a little shelf that would run along the long backside of the craft desk against the wall area. The shelf would be kind of like a hutch, but only a one-layer thing. I felt that having that little shelf on top would make my supplies more accessible and give me a place to put decorations and things. To install these shelves, I found these metal brackets on Amazon that were meant to be for floating shelves, but I figured I can use it for this application too. I painted them the same metallic gold and glitter gold combination as the table legs, and then the shelves that would go on top of the brackets, I also got from Home Depot and painted them in the same Glidden off-white paint as the tabletop. Once the paints were dry, I placed the metal brackets on top of the table and kind of measured for even spacing. The screws the metal brackets came with, and I used the short ones to screw the brackets to the desk. Then I laid the shelves on top of the brackets and screwed the brackets to the shelves to keep them in place. Since I had several shelves butted up against each other to run the span of the entire table length, the seams where the shelves butt against each other are not level since the brackets are also not 90 degrees perfectly straight. So I bought mending plates for them. This time I got them on Amazon. To install the mending plates to these shelves, a little trick that I like to use is to use double-sided tape. I place the tape on the mending plate, stick the mending plate to where I want to screw it in, and then it's really easy to screw the screw in place since I don't need to fiddle with holding the mending plate in the correct place at the same time as lining up the screw. So, tip, very helpful, use the double-sided tape. Since I planned to put all of my electronic equipment on this gigantic desk, I will need to plug everything in. And after plugging everything in, the wires above the table are just a huge mess. It's super ugly, not aesthetic at all. And if I ran several extension cables across in order to plug them all in, it would make it worse. To address this issue, I bought 2 power strips that are meant to be inset installed. The first step is I measure and draw out where I want to install the power strip on the surface of the desk. I drill 4 pilot holes in the corner of my rectangle that I drew. Those pilot holes are just to help the larger drill bit have a guide to go through so that I don't drill and it just goes all over the place. I vacuum the waste afterwards so that my workspace is neat when I proceed to the next step. And now I want to cut the rectangle out of my desk, and I'll use a jigsaw here. To prepare, I put some felt pads on the bottom of the jigsaw to protect the surface of the table since I just painted it. Then attach the blade to the jigsaw, and a little pause there just to remind you to take all the safety precautions that you need when working on your DIY projects. When using power tools, parental supervision is advised for the underaged, and eyewear protection and earwear protection is also very advised. Sorry, I don't do that. I am that stereotype. Please do as I say, not as I do.
Don't come for me.
After setting up the jigsaw, I insert the blade into one of the holes that I drilled into the table and cut the rectangle out. Unfortunately, even with the felt pads that I put on the jigsaw, it still managed to scratch off some of the paint on the tabletop. After cutting that rectangle, I go to insert the power strip and find that the hole that I cut was too small, but always better to be too small and be able to cut more rather than a hole that was too big. After that, I commence to make the hole a little bit bigger and then drill the power strip into the table to keep it in place. After that, I touch up the damaged areas of the tabletop with some new paint. And I repeat this process for the second power strip on the other side of my table. I'm not going to show any footage just to kind of reduce redundancy. The next part to the cable management is the desk grommets. I purchased some gold desk grommets from Amazon. And since it was already gold, I decided to only spray it with the glitter on top. After the paint is dry, I seal the paint with a Minwax polyacrylic clear coat. And side note, I did use this same polyacrylic to also seal the entire table surface, the shelves, and the brackets of the table legs. I just didn't have footage of when I did that. While the grommets are drying, I use a 2-inch bore to cut holes in my table. I start boring the first hole in front of one of my power strips. After I realized that the debris from the drilling was going everywhere and into the power strip itself, I remove the bore and vacuum everything up, and then put masking tape on top of the power strip to protect any more waste from entering the outlets. I don't want any waste to catch fire when plugging in equipment to the outlets later, of course. After the power strip is protected, I then proceed to finish boring the hole. I bored holes for each section of the table I plan to have a machine for. And after all the holes are cut, I set in the desk grommets. For me now, all of the fun part is over, the drilling and the painting. Now it's actually time to tackle the monstrosity underneath the desk. As far as showing where I ended up putting each of my machines, I plan to show that later in the video for the big reveal at the end. For underneath the desk, I used these cable ties and then tied each wire as neatly as I could to the bottom of the desk. Sorry for this section, I don't have any footage of me actually showing you how I did the cable management. Trying to get the camera underneath to film, the process was not enjoyable. Neither would have it been to edit the video to show you how I did it and explain to you how I did it. So you just get a video of me showing you that I did it. As a general concept, what I did was feed all of my wires per machine to go into the grommet that is behind it. Then underneath the table, the wires would run along the bottom and then come back out where the power strips are and then plug in. I really do love the way that this turned out. I think it's very organized and aesthetic. For my desk organizers, I wanted to get some pink items since the entire desk is white and gold. I really liked these cute pink lace baskets from Daiso. The lace is super girly, kind of coquette. Then I saw this decorative leaf plate in my pink and gold color scheme.
And then I got this yoga mat that I'm going to cut up to put as pads underneath my sewing machines.
While I was here, I also grabbed a few more felt pads to put on the bottom of my organizer baskets. For some variety, I also got another organizer caddy, this time from AliExpress. The gold finish on the metal frame is too bright compared to the gold I used on the table, and also the gold marble print for the shelves is super hideous. Look at this neon yellow color. To remedy the issue with the neon, I applied gold printed marble contact paper to cover the surface of the shelf and make it a little bit more pretty. I think I got this contact paper from the Dollar Tree for a previous project. For the metal frame, I spray it with the matching Rust-Oleum metallic gold and Krylon glitter blast gold paint. Then I add felt pads to the bottom of the organizer caddy, and that's the makeover for this piece done. The last organizer is for my Cricut vinyl storage items. The first thing I do is remove all the old labels on each drawer, which was a pain. After that, I unassembled the unit, wiped the dirt off with a rag, and painted the pieces white and Rust-Oleum candy pink. After reassembling the units and inserting the drawers back in, I have all of the organizers for my table done. And now for my favorite part of transformation videos, the actual arrangement and reveal. The first section is going to be for my serger and related tools. This next section, I place the cute gold metal caddy, then my prized possession, a flower nose swan ballet trunk, which I'm using as my sewing box, then a little pink phone stand and phone charger, and of course my trusty sewing machine and related supplies in the cutest Daiso pink basket. For this next section, I place my little cute pink weighing scales for easy access to my sitting area. They're both so cute and pink, I wanted to give them some specific screen time. After that, I place my pink mouse pad down, then my laptop and my pink mouse, a little coaster for my drinks, then my pink phone stand, yes, another one, because I need to have phone stands in both sections for quality of life. And for this last section of my desk, I put my pink label printer, my Epson inkjet printer, and my Cricut machine. And yes, I do know it's purple. When I bought it, I needed it for a project deadline, and the only color available at my local Michael's was the purple one. In the future, I do plan to sell it and then buy a pink one. But now is not that time. And here's the table, done! Now moving to arrange the little shelf. this first section, I have this UV sterilizing machine that I use to sanitize my phone. Plug this in. And I also place my bug zapper here and arrange some decorative pink trinkets that I have. The next section of the shelf, I place 2 pink pen holder caddies since this is right in front of my laptop, some extra decorative trinkets, and then my school textbooks and mail caddy. The next section, I place a couple more caddies and decorative trinkets, then my dog treat jar, my marble bookend, and some notebooks that I frequently use. I know, screams elegant, doesn't it? The last section, I placed the Cricut organizer units that I had newly painted, and that is my entire craft desk all complete. After finishing this craft desk, I felt really accomplished. I really appreciate how functional this space is, but also aesthetic. I have never actually had a work studio in the past that was both visually aesthetic and inspiring, and also this functional. It was a ton of work putting this desk together and completing all of the modifications that I did to it, but it has been so worth it. And with this main desk, that is one big step done towards my ultimate dream craft room. I really hope you guys liked this video because I cannot wait to show you the rest of my studio.